Hey folks, Fernando doing another video for More Survivalists. In this video, you want to watch it, and we're going to be talking about 12 food items you definitely want to stock up on. Probably know about what's happening in Italy. There's a situation there with new cases, new people infected. I think it's already like 7 dead, over 200 infected, and guys, it's basically what it is, without exaggerating, without dramatizing the situation. This is going to be getting a little bit more complicated. Most likely, it's going to be reaching wherever it is that you are. And some of the scenes, some of the images of what we're seeing in Italy are empty shelves. People are stocking up on stuff because one of the things that ends up happening is you're being forced to quarantine. You're being told, sir, lady, miss, whatever, you have to stay in your house, you cannot leave. And basically what we're going to be talking about in this video is the kind of food items you need so as to shelter in place. Sheltering in place is a very well-known concept in survival and preparedness. It is something that I kept in mind when writing this beautiful book of mine, Street Survival Skills, which is fortunately doing very, very well. The Spanish version of this book is selling. It is the #1 selling survival book in Amazon.es in Spanish. People in Latin America are loving it. People in Spain are loving it as well. And you guys are liking it because it has 32 reviews in Amazon, 5-star ranking as of right now. So if you haven't bought it already, go get your copy. One of the things I explain here is minimum, you want to have a month worth of food. That is the basic minimum of food you want to have. A month worth of food is really not all that much, and I explained that ideally you would have a year of food. Now a lot of people will go, man, you're exaggerating. A year worth of food, that's a lot. Well, for Mormons, that is kind of the thing, having a year worth of food. I know that a lot of them don't follow that guideline, but there is some wisdom in that. First of all, you're going to be eating anyway. If you're lucky, if you're not dead, you're going to be eating no matter what happens. So it is not something that's going to be wasted. Second, it's not all that expensive to put aside a good quantity of food. If you're smart about it, of course you know how to cook, if you buy certain food items, which we're going to be explaining in this video, it is not terribly expensive. You can have a well-balanced diet, all things considered, and you're covering one of the key aspects of survival and preparedness, which is staying fed, which is essential to staying alive. And it is covering you in several aspects. Food comes into play in a number of ways. Could be something as simple as there's a big storm, there's a natural disaster of some kind heading your way, people are buying and stocking up, and shelves go empty, and you have your supply of food and that's all you have. Okay, that could be a possible situation. It could be a financial problem, widespread or even personal. Maybe you're having a rough financial patch in your life. You lost your job, whatever it is, you're covered in terms of food. You're not worrying about putting food on the table, literally speaking. It could be something like this. There's a disease and people are trying to stay safe, staying home. You're not worrying about that because you already have your stockpile of food, which is going to be coming into play in a situation like that. So as to shelter in place, you have your food. So it is a number of situations why this is an essential part of preparedness. Having explained all that, let's get started. #1 thing that I think everyone should keep in mind when building up a stockpile of food is our beloved rice. Rice is, at least for me, this is one of the basics in my food supply. We eat rice all the time, and in a number of different recipes. I explain a couple of those in my book, but basically it goes with everything well. Most people like rice. It's not all that complicated to cook something well with this, and it just makes a ton of sense. Yes, it is not super nutritional or anything like that, but it keeps you fed. China is basically running on this stuff, so makes a lot of sense. buy quality rice. There's different degrees, there's different qualities. This one is quite good. Do your research, see what's available, and buy the best one you can. Don't be cheap on that. Rice is already cheap enough. I combined this one with our number 2 food item, which is lentils. Lentils and rice, legumes and and rice, they just go well together. They just combine beautifully, half or whatever combination. These two will definitely keep you well fed for a long period of time. Usually you want to get like 2,000 calories, give or take. Some people will tell you, well, if it's a survival situation, you're going to be working a lot and doing. Depends. I would say that in most survival situations, think of like a prolonged storm, which would not be much of a big deal, but think of being in quarantine. You know, you're going to be spending maybe a month or a little bit over a month sheltering in place, staying in your house for whatever reason. You're not doing a whole lot of physical activity. I think that 2,000 calories per person is fine. You could even stretch that quite a bit up to 1,500 calories. You're not going to be dying if you're on 1,500 calories for a few months. Maybe you're going to be losing a little bit of weight. You're going to be feeling even a little bit better, but it's not that big a deal. 2,000 is the standard. So our first two, this is the basic, this is the core of our food supply, which we're going to be building upon. Again, store what you eat what you store, rotate. That's what I do here in my family. We like these, we eat these a lot, with combining this with different things. But yeah, these two. Number 3 would be something that goes very well with those is tomato sauce. Tomato sauce just makes all this bland type of food taste a lot better. With a little bit of creativity, you can do a lot of good cooking with just the 3, but let's add a 4th, which is dried pasta, spaghetti. Notice that all of these, they don't require refrigeration. They store very well for a long time. This is expiration date. Where is it for this stuff? Man, like a couple years at least. That's pretty basic for most of this stuff. Here it is, the end of 2021. You know, and you could even stretch it a few months. Besides that, I've even passed expiration date dry pasta, no big deal. Of course, one of the things I explained in the book, you can store it properly, like in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber. That's going to be stretching that expiration date for decades. It's going to be lasting a very long time if there's no oxygen involved. Usually, even a package like this, as long as there's no bugs or anything like that, it still lasts a good bit of time. But of course, humidity gets to it, oxidation. So a Mylar bag, yes, that is the proper way to go. But if you have maybe like a couple months worth of food and you're going to be rotating those, then you know maybe it's a little bit of overkill going with the Mylar bags unless you have a larger stockpile of food. Okay, so that is number 4. Number 5 is get yourself some good quality olive oil. Olive oil has several benefits. One of the big benefits is, yeah, it does taste good. It makes some food taste better. You can maybe do some of that pasta with olive oil or with tomato sauce. It is very high calorie dense. You know, just a couple of tablespoons of olive oil has a lot of calories, and that makes you know, for a better meal if you're trying to stay fed and have a good amount of calories in each meal. Besides that, of course, olive oil has several health benefits, and it just makes a lot of sense. It usually stores quite well. It's not forever, but I think that the cans, the metal cans, some of olive oil comes in those, and those last for at least a couple of years, so keep that in mind. Number 5. Number 6, our beloved can of tuna, and they have a super size can here. Tuna, basic survival staple, at least for me it is. Goes well with rice, goes well with lentils or whatever it is you're mixing it with. If you have a little bit of fresh bread, you can make yourself a nice tuna sandwich. So yeah, it is quality meat, quality protein. It has some of those nutritional benefits that you don't have in some of those other foods. So tuna, definitely something you want to have, and it lasts forever. These things last for 1,000,000 years. Well, not 1,000,000 years, but 22. Okay, Yeah, almost 23. Sure. And even beyond that, these cans last for several years beyond past the expiration date in general. So that's a good idea. Was number 6 already? Number 7, let's go for some canned fruits and vegetables. Maybe something like this, canned baked beans. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You're gonna be having beans, legumes, stuff like that, lentils. Go with the dry stuff, which is, it's usually cheaper. It lasts for maybe a longer period of time if stored in a proper Mylar bag, and you pack more of this stuff than in this type of format. Here you have the bean with water. I mean, half of the can is basically water inside. So better go with dried legumes instead. Now this stuff, yes, you want to have. These are peaches, a jar full of peaches. This is good stuff to have in your pantry. If you're gonna be having, rice, beans, these kind of bland food, not all that fun. This is sweet. This has several other nutritional benefits that you don't have from those other foods. So this is the kind of stuff that you want to have. For cans, fruits and vegetables, this is the way you want to be going. Was it not? No, almost like to 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, we're going to be finishing these with some of these beverages. You want to have coffee. This is something that we drink here quite a bit, and yes, it's from that nice little machine, but you want to have some of these instant coffee as well. This is usually more cost efficient, and let's be honest, if you run out of this, at least you have something. Tea as well, mate in my case, and of course salt and sugar. You want to have those as well. Wrapping up this video, a couple of things that you may not have been thinking about or keeping in mind is baby food. Some of these Nestle cereal, gluten-free cereal for babies. This is of course for babies, but an adult could eat this as well. It stores quite well for a couple years, has a good nutritional value, pretty complete, given that it's intended for babies. But if you have children, this is something you definitely want to have. And don't forget about your vitamins, multivitamins. You want to have these so as to supplement and complete your survival food stash, which may have a few holes here and there. Now these, you can store several of these, but maybe a little tip is, if you don't have to, you maybe can take half a tablet and stretch your supply if you have to. That could be a good idea. It's not as necessary, especially for a shorter period of time. If it's just a few months, you're not going to be lacking terribly. So either a complete one or half of these a day is going to be keeping you in a nice, well-rounded diet. Guys, I hope you like this little video. I'm just kind of running out of voice here, but that's it. The situation it could be complicated. Let's hope it's not, but this is just common sense stuff from a preparedness point of view. See you on our next video, folks. I leave the link for my book underneath there under the video. Have an awesome day.